She asked to store a few boxes in my garage. Months later, I opened it to find dozens of locked crates. When I asked her, she hissed, "That's not your garage anymore." The HOA claimed she had a lease. I laughed until they showed me the paperwork with my signature. Except it wasn't mine. When I went to city records, I saw, "I've lived in Redmond, Oregon, for almost 10 years now. Quiet town, good people, not much drama. I moved here after my divorce in 2015 to start over. Bought a place on Delmar Drive, a simple one-story house with a detached garage out back. That garage meant something to me. It was my space. Tools, boxes from my marriage I hadn't sorted through, some old camping gear. And my Bronco, beat to hell, but still mine. I kept saying I'd restore it. Never did. So last October, this woman moves into the rental across the street. Simone. She had this weird, artsy look, scarves, thick eyeliner, always smelled like incense. She introduced herself the first week. Friendly enough, but she talked too smooth, like a salesperson who forgot she wasn't selling anything. A couple weeks later, she caught me outside while I was raking leaves. Said she needed a favor. Just a small one. Her rental didn't have a garage, and she had a few boxes she couldn't leave out in the rain. Asked if she could store them in mine, just for a week or two. I hesitated, but she played it cool. "Just until I get a storage unit," she said. 3 boxes tops. I said fine. I wasn't using it for much anyway, and I figured it'd be neighborly. That same afternoon, she brought over 6 boxes. Not 3. 6. I noticed that, but I didn't make a big deal. She stacked them neatly in the back corner. I even helped carry one in. It was heavy, felt like books. I told her again. "Couple weeks, that's it." She smiled. "Of course. I'll be out of your hair in no time." That was in October. Fast forward to January. Winter hit hard. I hadn't been in the garage in a while. One day, I went to grab a snow shovel. Opened the door and stood there frozen. There were crates now. Not boxes. Crates. Plastic ones with padlocks. Some had warning labels. Others had stickers, barcodes, numbers, weird abbreviations. They weren't stacked in a messy way either. They were organized. Like someone had set up a warehouse in my garage. I counted at least 30 crates. All of them locked. My heart started pounding. I backed out slowly and locked the door again, like I was afraid something would jump out. I walked across the street and knocked hard on Simone's door. She opened it with this calm look on her face, like she was expecting me. "What the hell is all that in my garage?" I asked. She didn't even blink. Just took a sip of her tea and said, "That's not your garage anymore." My brain stalled. I thought she was joking. "What the hell are you talking about?" She shrugged. "Talk to the HOA." So I did. I drove straight to the HOA office. Sandra, the office manager, looked confused when I told her what happened. Then she pulled out a file. A sublease agreement. The paper said Simone had full rights to use my garage until June of the following year. And it had my name on it. My address. My signature. But it wasn't my signature. It looked close. Real close. But I know how I write. I always make my K with a hard angle. This one had a loop. And the R looked wrong. Like someone copied it from an old check. I told Sandra. "This is forged." She said, "Well, if that's the case, you need to take it up with the city and maybe get legal help. But right now, it's valid." I left her office in a daze. Drove straight to city records. I wanted to know how this paper got filed. A guy named Nate helped me dig into it. That's where things went from bad to insane. There was more than just the lease. There were filing forms. Application paperwork. Some notary verification. All attached to the same forged signature. The notary's name stood out right away. Margaret L. Renner. I knew that name. It took a second, but then I remembered, Simone had introduced me to a woman named Maggie at a garage sale last fall. Called her Aunt Maggie. Short lady, wore a church pin, smelled like lemon balm. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't even just a scam. It was planned. Simone faked the paperwork. Her aunt notarized it. The HOA accepted it without checking because it looked legit. They had stolen my garage right out from under me. I should have called the cops. I should have screamed. But instead, I sat in the city records parking lot for over an hour, just gripping the steering wheel. She picked me. She watched me. And she knew exactly what she was doing. That garage? It wasn't just about storage. I was going to find out what was in those crates. And then I was going to burn her little game to the ground. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing those crates in my head. The barcodes. The labels. The locks. I started wondering what the hell I'd let into my life. Drugs? Guns? Stolen stuff? Next morning, I tried to act normal. Went to work. Came home. Watched Simone from my front window. She didn't seem worried. In fact, she looked relaxed. Like she'd already won. That pushed me too far. The next night, around midnight, I snuck out the back door with a crowbar and bolt cutters. Quiet, careful. The garage still had my padlock on the outside, only because she hadn't changed it yet. I opened it slow. It smelled like oil and plastic and something else, like mold or chemicals, I couldn't tell. I went straight to one of the crates. The top one on a stack by the wall. Used the bolt cutters. Took a minute, but the lock snapped. Inside? Binders. Hundreds of pages. Neatly filed. I pulled one out. It was a medical form. Patient info. Dates. Procedure codes. All with out-of-state hospital logos. I opened another crate. More papers. Some looked like insurance claims. Some had credit card numbers. I froze. This wasn't drugs. It was identity theft. Medical fraud. Data harvesting. She was storing people's lives in my garage. I took photos of everything with my phone. Then I closed the crate and left it exactly how I found it. Locked the garage again, went back to my house, and sat at the kitchen table shaking. I knew I needed to call someone. But who? The cops? What if they didn't believe me? She had paperwork. Fake, yeah, but legal on the surface. She had a notary. The HOA already thought she had a lease. I needed proof. Real proof. So I did the only thing I could think of. I took the next day off work and drove to Bend, an hour away. Visited a lawyer named Denny Burke. Old friend of my brother's. Tough, no-nonsense guy. I showed him the photos. Told him everything. He stared at me for a while. You know what this is, right? He finally said. This is federal. HIPAA violations. Fraud. Maybe even racketeering. I just want my garage back, I said. He laughed, but not in a funny way. You'll get more than that if you play this right. That night, Denny called a contact he had at the state's Fraud Investigations Unit. 2 days later, a guy named Agent Tim Hall showed up in a plain Ford Fusion. He looked like an accountant, but he asked the right questions. I gave him copies of the photos. He asked if I could get more. So I did. Over the next week, I snuck into that garage 3 more times. Different crates each time. Some had hard drives. Others had thumb drives labeled by hospital name. It was organized. Way too organized. Agent Hall told me they'd been tracking a ring like this operating out of Portland. Files stolen from clinics, then sold on the dark web. Fake insurance claims. Prescription fraud. Millions of dollars. Simone wasn't just some scammer. She was a key player. But they didn't want to arrest her yet. They wanted everything: who she worked with, how they moved data, where it ended up. That meant waiting. Watching. That's when it all started going wrong. Because Simone got suspicious. One morning, I woke up to banging. Loud, fast, angry. She was at my front door, pounding hard. I looked through the peephole. She was furious. Hair tied up, face red, pacing like a caged animal. I didn't open it. She yelled, "I know what you're doing!" Then she spat on the porch and stormed off. I called Agent Hall right away. He told me to stay calm, not to confront her. But I could feel it, things were about to blow up. 3 nights later, someone broke into my house. They didn't take anything. Nothing was missing. But drawers were open. My laptop had been unplugged. My home office door was wide open, and the backup drive I kept in my desk was gone. That's when I knew. She wasn't working alone. And someone else now knew I was poking around. After the break-in, I stopped sleeping altogether. Every noise outside made me jump. I started keeping a bat by my bed and installed a second deadbolt on the front door. I even bought a wireless camera system and set them up around the garage and my house. I wasn't taking chances. Agent Hall told me to hang in there. "We're building the case," he said. "We're almost there." But I was on edge. Simone wasn't acting calm anymore either. She stopped pretending to be friendly. She'd stand at the edge of her yard and stare at me when I took the trash out. I saw her talking to 2 different men I didn't recognize. One of them drove a silver Dodge Charger that started showing up on our street more often. Then came the package. It showed up on my porch in the middle of the day. No return address. Just my name, handwritten. I brought it inside and opened it with a knife. Inside were pictures. Not of me. Not of Simone. Of my daughter. My ex-wife lives in Salem with our 17-year-old Taylor. The pictures were from her school parking lot. Taylor getting into her car. Taylor walking to the front doors. My stomach dropped. I called my ex right away, told her to keep Taylor home until further notice. Didn't explain why, just said I was dealing with something dangerous. Then I called Agent Hall. He told me this wasn't just about fraud anymore. It was a threat. Clear as day. "They're sending a message," he said. "They want you to back off." I asked him, "Can you protect my family?" He didn't say yes. Instead, he said, "We need to move fast." They brought in more people. Set up surveillance down the street. One of their vans parked a few houses down pretending to be from a cable company. They tapped the street's power lines for audio. I stayed out of it as much as I could. Pretended I was just a neighbor again. Didn't talk to Simone. Didn't look at her. But then the garage lights started turning on in the middle of the night. I never touched the switches. I went out one night around 2 a.m. and stood in the shadows of my side yard. The light inside was on. I crept closer, trying not to step on any sticks. Someone was inside. I saw a shadow move across the window. Not Simone. Bigger. Male. Maybe early 30s. I only caught a glimpse before he killed the light and left out the back. I ran inside and checked the cameras. He had covered 2 of them with tape. But the one on the tree out back, caught his face. Briefly. Not super clear, but enough to tell he wasn't anyone from the neighborhood. I sent the image to Agent Hall. The next day, I got a call. The guy in the photo was linked to a cyber theft ring operating out of Spokane. Real name, Darius Coates. Arrest record in 3 states. Suspected of bank fraud and extortion. They were pulling in more than just hospital data. These people were serious. Dangerous. And Simone? She wasn't just some middlewoman. She was running the local branch. Agent Hall told me the task force was preparing to raid the operation. My garage wasn't just storage, it was the hub. Then, another twist hit me right in the gut. Sandra from the HOA called. She was nervous. Her voice was shaky. She said she needed to meet in person. Said it was urgent. I met her at a diner on the edge of town. She kept glancing over her shoulder. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. That paperwork, the lease? I knew it was fake. I stared at her. What? She nodded. Simone paid me to look the other way. Said it was a gray area. She gave me $5,000 in cash. I almost slammed the table. Are you serious? I didn't know it was this serious, she said, panicking. I thought it was just a storage thing. I was boiling. She helped this happen. She let it slide for a bribe. Why are you telling me now? I asked. Because someone broke into my house last night, she said. They didn't steal anything. But they left a note on my pillow. She pulled it out of her purse. It said, "Loose lips sink ships." That was it. That's when I knew Simone was starting to lose control. She was scared. Desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. I wish I could say I did the right thing from here on out. I didn't. After hearing what happened to Sandra, something inside me snapped. I didn't care about the investigation anymore. I didn't care about playing it smart or staying quiet. I just wanted to end it. That night, I went to the garage again. But this time I wasn't sneaking in. I went loud. I cut the lock and pulled the door open so hard it banged against the wall. I took a can of gas and poured it in a wide circle around the crates. I had my lighter in my hand. My heart was racing, hands shaking. I wanted to set it all on fire. Burn every trace of her operation to the ground. But I didn't do it. Because Simone was standing in the doorway behind me. You think you're some kind of hero? She said. I turned to face her. She looked different. No scarf. No makeup. Just cold. You used my house, I said. You used me. She smirked. You made it easy. Lonely guy, divorced, trying to be helpful. You handed me the keys. I didn't sign that lease. No, she said, stepping closer. But you left the garage unlocked for 3 days after I asked. That's all I needed. After that, I just made it official. I stared at her. You forged everything. You even dragged your aunt into this. She owed me, Simone said. Just like you do now. That part made me pause. What are you talking about? She smiled then, but it wasn't kind. It was cruel. You really think those photos of your daughter came from me? Darius did that. He was watching you. He knew where your family lived. If you light that garage, he'll find her next. I don't remember lunging at her. It just happened. I grabbed her by the collar and shoved her into the side of the garage wall. The gas can dropped and rolled away. She didn't fight back. She just stared at me, calm as ever. You already lost, she whispered. You just don't know it yet. Sirens cut through the night air. Unmarked vans pulled into the street. Flashing lights. Men with jackets that said DOJ and Cybercrimes Task Force. They swarmed us. Guns raised. Yelling. Hands! Now! I let go of her and dropped to my knees. Simone didn't move. They arrested both of us. But I was out within 12 hours. They cleared me. Agent Hall vouched for everything. Said I helped expose a ring that had been active in 4 states. Simone wasn't so lucky. They charged her with identity theft, fraud, racketeering, conspiracy. Her aunt too. Darius was picked up and spoken 3 days later. They found a server farm in an abandoned factory with over 2 million patient records. My garage had been the dead drop, where stolen drives were left before being uploaded to the dark web. Sandra lost her job. Faced charges, but got a lighter sentence for testifying. I sued the HOA. Settled for $65,000 and a formal apology. I used the money to reinforce my house, add security systems, and pay for Taylor's college fund. But I still made a mistake. I let it happen in the first place. I didn't question things soon enough. I didn't lock my space. I trusted a stranger without really knowing her. And because of that, I got dragged into something far worse than I ever imagined. I lost sleep. I lost peace. I nearly lost my family's safety. Simone is serving 18 years in federal prison. Her aunt got 6. Darius took a plea deal, 10 years. I drive by the rental across the street every day. It's empty now. For sale. Sometimes I think about burning the garage down just to erase the memory of what happened in there. But I don't. Instead, I keep it locked. Every damn day. Because some mistakes don't go away. They just sit there, waiting in the dark.